Hi guys, welcome. Sorry we had to miss yesterday. We are in here today. Mr. Matthews Jr. is not in today. He's doing that social distancing at home. Gemma kind of had a runny nose, so it's like stay home. We are still taking all the precautions that the health department says to take, just so you're aware of all of that. All right, are you ready? Me and Miss Smith have something kind of fun planned for you today. If you have a plastic board at home, go ahead, get it out. If you don't have somebody to hold it for you right now, no worries. These are drills that you can do later with a partner. We're going to give you drills that you can do on your own. But our focus today is board breaking. So here we go. First thing we got to do, warm up the muscles we're going to be utilizing for those techniques. So we're planning on reviewing 4 different techniques today. The front kick board break, the side kick board break, the elbow strike, horizontal elbow strike, and the palm heel technique. So we're using both legs, we're using both arms, and because we're home, we're going to challenge you to not only break with your good arm, your good leg, but your offside also.
Cindy Marabelli says she misses you guys.
Oh, Cindy, I'm so glad you're there. I hope you're in a position where you and Bella can maybe work through this with us. The other girls too. We might as well bring the whole family into it. All right. Simple warm-ups to start with. Let's do 25.
Side straddle hop?
Yeah, whatever. I had to look.
Side straddle hop.
I am so glad Miss Smith has been with me long enough. She can finish my sentence because I'm looking at her like, please help me. All right. Ready, 25, and go. Okay, that was just fun.
It's actually really good for me because I just had like a whole cup of coffee. So, and it was one of those like the little frothy ones where you get like 2 tablespoons of instant coffee, 2 tablespoons of sugar, 2 tablespoons of boiling water, and you whisk it till it's frothy.
Oh my goodness.
And you whisk it till it gets frothy.
That is why the leadership assignment she's working on, spoiler alert, is a TikTok dance. Oh my goodness.
We're at 25 yet, I'm not counting.
I didn't know.
That's probably 25.
One of Mr. Matthews Jr.'s complaints, I can talk through all the exercises, therefore I don't count. So hopefully you were counting. You can let us know, were we cheating? Did we hit 25?
Did we hit over 25?
We think we
feel
think
like we went
hit
over.
25. If it was senior, he's on a time clock that never stops time. So, anyways, it's fun to mess with the boys because the boys aren't here. It's an all-girls team. Our producer is Miss Leanne. So our coach is here. It's an all-girls team. Uh-oh, Trouble City. No, I'm just kidding.
All right. So I guess we're going to go ahead and start with me. All right, let's go ahead and start with front kick, all right? Front kick is probably the easiest board break ever because front kick is just a forward kick in general. I think there's a type of karate that calls it a thrust kick. So that's how I like to think of this board break. I don't think of it so much as a front kick as I think of it as a thrust kick to remind me because you're trying to push forward. You're trying to get that forward momentum, and that's all going to come from your hips. So you're pushing forward with your hips, kind of like what Mr. Matthews Jr. tells you when we do our forms, so push your hips out when you do those front kicks. So with board breaking kicks, the most of your power is going to come from this belt stomach section. All right, you don't want to go any higher. The higher you go, the less power you have. All right, so you want to try to stay about belt level whenever you do these kicks, if possible. There are some kicks that, as you get higher rank, that will require head level board breaks. But if they don't, keep it at about this level. Makes it so much easier. So to start with front kick, I kind of actually want to do a how to kind of position your body, get used to positioning your body. So you're going to kind of just put your foot on to a bed or a table or some kind of surface and point your toes forward. You want to point the ball of your foot forward and pull your toes back. This is the position that your foot should be in for your kick, and I want you to kind of lean back. This should be the position your body is in when you do the kick in general. It's going to be more like up here for me, but just so we can get used to the actual positioning in general. All right, so notice how my hips are forward, my shoulders are back to get that nice hip forward motion. And make sure you know how to do it on both sides, just so we can kind of make sure that you have that positioning down. With this technique, it's really hard to think of drills for this technique, actually. Most of the drills that we'll have here that I do like is we'll stack two of these bags on top of each other, and you have to kick one of them off. And you'll know if you did it right, if it goes straight off the edge. All right, if you have some way to do that at home, then definitely do that, practice that. If you have bags at home, then practice that way as well. All right, so if you have something small, something to push off, if you watch Miss Matthews, she's going to pull her foot up and push it forward. Notice how it's not so much front kick, it's not so much flippy, it's more pushing it forward. All right, that's the main difference between front kick in form and front kick as a board break. Like I said, it's a thrust kick, not so much a front kick. The more you think of it as a thrust, the easier it'll be to get it as the board break front kick. All right.
Maybe even find something, a footstool or something a little bigger. But just practice the foot position, like Miss Smith said. Push with the ball of your foot. Just push your item with the ball of your foot. You can use, if you have a partner, you can sparring style. We do this all the time. Put your foot on your partner's hip and just extend your leg. Push. Get the feel of what part of your foot needs to touch the target. All right? So we're not practicing speed with that. There's all these different increments. Right now you're practicing your foot positioning on your target. So to step that up, at the end of this, we're going to play with a couple of things that you can do at home. Even if you don't have a board to break, we're going to recommend using paper, and we will demonstrate that. Even if you have a board, start with paper.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of fun to play with. It gives you some other things to think about as we do that.
And paper is definitely a good way to know if you're doing your technique correctly. That paper will not break if you do not kick correctly. It is such a good technique tool.
So continuing with your front kick for a minute, now that I'm thinking about paper. So once you figure out and are comfortable with the part of your foot and pushing forward on your hips, you're still going to focus on the pivot position of your base foot to give you the most power. Now you've got to pick up your speed. We practice very robotic. So we've got your chamber, your kick, your re-chamber and down. That is not a board break technique though. That is a forms technique. So with a board break, you're going to still do your chamber and your extension. You don't have a re-chamber though, all right? You're going to drive your foot and all but fall forward with a front kick board break. Then you have to pick up your speed. So once you've practiced a few times with your target over the bag, with your foot position, push out, pull it back, set it down. Do that 5 times, just getting the motion up. We have to turn that motion into a single motion instead of 4 parts of a kick like a form though. It has to come up and out, extend, all in one motion so the power you're driving doesn't stop. If you chamber stop, your power just left you. Everything you built from the floor up. So your foot comes up and extends out all in a single motion. And then you have to add your speed to your extension. So the easiest way for me to think of to explain this is your punch. If you have a punch, your twist and your snap is right on your end. Your entire speed and power is right on the end. That's the same with your kick. You've got all the power from your core going into this kick. Now at the end is that speed and snap to pop through the board. So I'm actually going to hold an orange board for Miss Smith. It is all but impossible to demonstrate this slowly.
It really is.
You practice slowly to get the motion down. This can be in the air. You can be as creative as mom and dad allow you to be at home. Or if you're with mom and dad at work, I understand. Look around. Be real creative.
Yeah.
Don't kick something you're not supposed to kick. And please don't use a wall, because if you figure out all this technique, you could literally go through the wall. Our walls in Las Vegas are not that hard to go
I
through.
don't think mom and dad's going to appreciate having a hole in their wall.
Yes, that would not be a good thing. So I would not use the wall, okay? So watch Miss Smith's thrust of her hips. Watch the speed at the end with her front kick.
Now I'm going to add in one more thing. With different kicks, if you guys remember, we have 1, 2, 3, and 4 kicks. All right. These are the reason why we practice this is not just so we know the different kicks, but because different positionings and different start positions will have a different outcome in terms of power and speed. If your foot's in the front, you're going to have more speed. If it's in the back, especially with front kick and round kick, it'll have more power. We are wanting the more power, so we're going to want to do a front kick or round kick if, even though we're not doing that today. Those would be, number 2s of those would be perfect for these board breaks, all right? So we're going to do a number 2 front kick because we're going to get all the power from that extra length that we have to go. So the longer it takes to get there, the more power that we build up and the more momentum we have to go through. So I'm going to start with my foot in the back. All right?
Notice where her foot finished.
Pretty much almost in front of Miss Matthews.
Through the board,
And
her foot is beyond where I was holding the board. She didn't kick the board and stop.
No.
She pushed through the board. The board was an obstacle. I'm actually the target.
Yeah.
Very important.
And if you saw, I kind of fell out of this kick. You can fall out of any of these kicks. You don't have to land in a stance for board breaks. It's honestly, if you fall out of your kick after you finish the board break, that's probably the better way to go when it comes to board breaks. You don't have to be perfect side kick into a middle stance or something like that when you finish these board breaks. If you fall out of it, that's fine.
You would have to re-chamber your kick
to get
be
that.
able to control a stance.
And you do not want to rechamber.
There are no stances.
We're pretty much taking that part of the steps for a kick out. Instead of chamber, kick, rechamber, it's chamber, kick, fall out. All right.
Now, moving on to our next kick. Hi, Hunter. You know we were talking about you. Don't kick your mom's wall at work.
Yeah.
Or if you do, you better break and then explain and apologize for it later. Do it right.
And record it so we know what kind of technique you're using.
Or record mom hitting you upside the head
That'll
for
be
knocking a
amusing.
hole in the wall.
We can use
Anyway,
amusement.
side kick. That is both one of the easiest and one of the hardest techniques.
Oh yeah.
Now, we have enough power in a side kick. Side kick is one of the most powerful kicks. But there's a lot of things that can go wrong. From your pivot to overconfidence to not enough confidence to I'm a little afraid of the board. Am I going to be... So you have to control your side kick to start with. Kind of like your front kick. I like using the couch, the bed, a table that's a good height for you. Get in a full pivot and just practice foot position. Don't worry about balance at this point. Flex your foot on your target. So I'm pulling my toes back and I'm raising my body right now. I'm kind of stretching is what I'm doing. Stretching out my hip, but my legs locked out, my heels extended, and in a good side kick position.
You should really, if you're practicing the actual side kick position, you should really feel that tightness of your muscles as you pull your toes back. When I pull my toes back all the way, on the inside of my thigh is actually where I feel that tightness. Honestly, my whole thigh really, but mostly in the inside of my thigh, I can feel it tighten up because I'm pulling those toes back.
Now, in that same position, so you do one item by flexing your foot, pulling your toes back. If you rotate your hips forward slightly, now you feel it again all through your hip. So you can tell yourself without anybody telling you if you're standing there comfortably with your leg up on the table, you can feel nothing right now. That is incorrect. You should not feel comfortable. Everything should be tight. Pivot that bottom foot more. Roll that foot over. Pull those toes back. Feel your muscles. Start learning your body position. All right? Shoulders up, posture up. Shoulder, front shoulder turn towards your target. Your hand is towards your target as well as your foot. Everything in a side kick needs to drive sideways or forward being your target. If your body is leaning away, do this on purpose, all of a sudden, you don't feel anything again. I'm not driving forward. My power is going two different directions. You will not break a board in that position. So practice your side kick position the same way. Up on the block, down. Up on the table, down. Do it 5-10 times at least, and do it on both sides, even if you're not breaking boards with both sides. But you want to train your body evenly. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about foot position on side kick. From the time your foot comes off the floor, it is already flexed. No matter how you're pulling it up, it's never a floppy fish foot. Never, 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 never. Flex from the time you pull off the floor. Your foot is always, always flexed. We talked about straight line kicks earlier this cycle. So we started training straight line kicks with a side kick to help targeting problems. Your first thing is your side kick itself. The board is not the hard part. So you've got to get the board out of your head and you've got to execute a proper side kick. It has to be straight line. You've got your full pivot, your knee, everything is going to go sideways. You've got to get in your side kick position and push. All right, straight line target. Now, add your eyes to your side kick practice. The minute you turn your head, we have a habit of turning our body other directions. All right, so if you're looking at the video and you're looking straight ahead, that's what you're watching. Your kick's going the way you're watching. You just don't realize it. So you have to look, your eyes, without facing what you're doing. You have to keep your side kick position. We have to have our pivot. Now, one motion kicking instead of two motion. That's your chamber kick, rechamber. You've got three motions there. We only want one motion. Up and out. It's all connected, okay? Do not chamber, stop, kick, and expect a good result on a board break. Your momentum has to be one motion. You cannot stop on that chamber to the extension. Very, very important. When we break a board with a side kick, we usually are doing a number 3, which means you're stepping for all the power, especially if you're little guys. Little guys, we need all the power moving. That means your entire body we want moving. Now, I do want you to play with number 1 side kicks also. From a standing position, front leg, if you can come up and pop through your paper or pop through your board, you know you have good technique.
More power to you.
And you've got your snap figured out. But if you're not breaking in that manner, take a big step. So you're going to step into your pivot past your foot. So I'm already in my pivot. I'm going to send my kick from there. All right, and don't stop on the step. So it's step and kick. All right, it's not step, stop, get my balance. All right, wait, I got this, and then go. No, 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 no.
In all honesty, it should almost feel like a run.
It
all
should
right?
feel like a run.
You shouldn't. It shouldn't just be 1, 2. All right. Yes, that is. Yes, I am not stopping, and I'm still continuing on. But 1, 2, that's too slow, especially for you, like you said, some of you littler guys. You should almost feel like 1, 2. All right. Notice how fast, and I almost skipped. I had to stop myself to keep from skipping because then we're getting almost into jump side kick.
Right.
All right. But it's a fast motion. It's not, like I said, not 1, 2. It's 1, 2, and I'm already in that side kick position almost before my foot touches the ground.
If I've got white, orange, and yellow belts, if I've got some of my lower ranks out there watching, hello, welcome to the video. We do want you guys, because in your forms, we teach you to step up into your pivot position and then kick. This is a new concept for you guys, okay? We want that momentum, just like Miss Smith showed, to keep moving.
So to get used to this kind of step, just practice the step. Don't even worry about the kick itself. Practice stepping behind and bringing it up. All right. You don't have to worry about the kick. Just practice the step. It would be a new concept for our white, orange, yellow belts. So you really want to get used to stepping behind. And notice how when I'm stepping behind, my shoulders are also this way. My side kick, you almost want to feel like you're kicking just like behind you. All right. Yes, you want to look at your target, but at the same time, side kick should never feel like it's just sideways or forward. It should almost feel like you're kicking behind you because your hips are twisted so far around to get that maximum thrust with that kick.
Now, what part of your foot should touch the target on a side kick board break? Only your heel in what I'm explaining. Now, you can, if you are one of the persons that are able to do a bladed side kick, that is totally acceptable, and that means the top line edge of your foot. But you're still coming through with the heel first,
Let's bring this up.
and the blade has to be right on. The blade is this side of your foot, the top edge of your foot. All right, but see how her heel is extended. If I put a board up next to Miss Smith's foot, just as a straight line, her heel is touching before the rest of her foot is there, and the blade follows through. So pulling those toes back, getting that flexed foot position, very, very important. Now, distancing is another problem until you've learned your distance with a board. So we've got tape lines on the floor. Tape lines on your floor at home, you might be able to achieve that also. You're going to put just a piece of tape down on where this is my target. This is where I want to go through or pass. This is my board. Then step away from that spot. Step together, step out, and do what you would feel be a normal board break side kick. So if I step, kick, and I land, and I haven't gone past my piece of tape, that means I need to step closer.
Now, on the flip side of that, if you guys are doing your step, and by the time that you bring that knee up, you're already over your tape, you're too close. So you need to back up a little bit there. You pretty much want your foot and maybe a little bit of your calf to go past the board. Not really, probably about knee would be too far. So if your knee is already across the mark that you make, you're too close to the board. All right, you really want just this last area because that's what's going through the board.
Oh, hi you guys. All right, Melody, you've got to hold the board for the little ones, and it'll take 2 of them to hold the board for you, just so you know. Don't kick each other. So once you have your tape down for where you're saying your board is or your target is, when you step from that point, make sure you mark that spot also, and you mark the same spot, guys. So if you're marking your front foot or if you're marking your back foot, so you know exactly how to do your adjustment, then do not step to the tape. All right, we have a habit of, okay, we got our tape down, I know I want to step right to my tape. No, that's not what I want you to do to start with. I want you to do 3 or 4 normal step side kicks. See where you land. Do it again. Check your consistency. If you're consistently landing over, now adjust. All right, I'm consistently landing over. I'm going to take another step out. I'm going to mark that spot. Then 3 or 4 times. All right? So don't take just one because you're focused on that tape, and I really don't want you to focus on it right now until you get what your distance is. Okay, does that make sense? What else about side
Kind of
kicks?
thing. I think that's pretty much a lot
At that
of stuff.
point, you're going to go to your paper. You will need a partner in this. Now, just so you know, a paper board break is harder than you think. It's just a piece of paper, yes, but because the paper flexes so much, if you don't kick it correctly, that's exactly what it'll do. It'll bend, or it'll pull it out of our hand, or now your helpers, you have to hold on really tight and try to keep the paper stretched, all right? But paper is fun. Try to use paper that's used. If you have a notebook from school that you've already written in, you're not going to use those pages, but those pages are still there.
Don't be using mom and dad's work.
Yeah, that's a perfect piece of paper, okay? So,
hey, Niels!
So, for that board break, should we try it?
Sure.
All right. You want to go this way?
Bring it a little low. So notice how I'm having her bring it low, because like I said, you guys want to keep it in that mid-range.
And I let...
She let go.
So you can see holding the paper is as big a challenge as breaking the paper is. So it's kind of fun. You can challenge yourself to how many times does it take you to break the paper? Okay, things like that. But if you don't have a board, paper's the next best thing, and it's, like I said, it's challenging on both sides.
It really is.
All right, so challenging yourself a front kick board break, challenging yourself a side kick board break. Next one up, elbow strike. Here we go. Everybody wants to push their arm away from their body. Everybody. You've got to get arm in where you're almost punching yourself in the cheek, okay? So comfortable distance. Get a twisting motion feel to start with. It's easy for me to say if you're a purple belt, it's like in your form, but there's a lot of belts under purple that would not make any sense to any of you. When you do this board break, you want to use the muscle on your arm. At no time turn your hand sideways or down.
Yeah, if your fist is facing your target, then your hand should be in the right position.
Okay, fist out, fingers out. and then tight to your body. So your arm
It'll automatically flex.
needs to flex. Exactly.
That'll keep it flexed.
Tighten it up. If your arm's out and you hit a target, your arm bends with the target and it won't go through what you're striking at.
And real quick, I just want everyone to actually feel the difference. I want everyone to tighten their fist as much as they can and have it right next to their body and feel how tight your muscles are. Now keep your fist the same tightness and just slowly bring it out. And notice how much looser that muscle starts to feel as you let go of that tight
You lose the flex in your shoulder and your tricep. You keep the flex down here in your forearm, but you lose
need here too.
up here.
It's almost a full arm necessity.
And again, for you littler guys, you need all the power you can get, and you've got to add the speed. Now, one thing the little guys have over the big guys for the most part, excuse me, is the speed.
Yeah.
So we've got the tight arm, the tight fist, twist the body. You are not going to go forward. That's more like a hammer. You are going to use that motion. So you usually come out of, I'm going to use stances. They're not specific stances, but I'm going to use them so you can relate. We're going to go from a back stance to a front stance, and you're going to twist your hips just like your front kick.
And if you guys can see, notice how me and Miss Matthews, whenever we twist into this, our back foot comes up. All right? We want to twist as far as we can. We're not doing a conventional front stance. We're not just doing a regular one. Regular front stance, we want to keep that foot on the floor. But because we're twisting even further, that back foot starts to come up. All right? I'm not bringing it up. All I'm doing is twisting my hips, and that foot's starting to come up.
Okay.
Most of this move comes from your hips.
Yes.
All right? Once you have your hands here, really you keep it here and you twist your hips, and that's where all the motion comes in to break it. That's where that snap is.
So you're using all of your core, not just your arm, to break the board. Okay? Now, opposite in my black belts, I want you to be able to generate the power, your core up to just your arm. All right? That's your speed breaks. Completely different. Little guys, you need that back stance position into your front stance position, your entire body. That is when you have a habit of reaching for the board. Do not reach. Keep it tight. Your reach is with your whole body. So if we hold up a re-breakable board, now keep in mind, for those that don't know, sometimes the line is horizontal and sometimes the line is vertical, depending on the kick, or the technique, I should say. So front kick, the line should be vertical, up and down. Side kick, the line should be sideways, horizontal. All right? For elbow strike, we are going to go horizontal. All right? So a slowish motion.
Yeah.
Board breaks are never slow. It's kind of hard to demonstrate slow technique.
All right, and last thing, when you're doing this, we say it's a front elbow, but you're not hitting with your elbow. You're hitting right before it. All right, so this muscle right here before your elbow. All right, that'll be what hits. All right, so it's not quite your elbow and it's not anywhere near your wrist. You're not going to hit with the whole arm, just this little about 1 to 2 inch section right here. All right, so I'm going to try to do this slow. All right, so I'm also going to judge my distance. I'm going to wait till my wrist goes, this is how I do it. Once my wrist is about a little bit past, all right, that's how I know that I have enough distance. I'm going to load up.
Follow through. Okay.
And notice I ended way past Miss Matthews. I fell out of that.
If you're using paper, you're doing the same thing. Now, to break the paper, you actually need more speed
Oh yeah.
than the board. All right, remember that flex in the paper. But you can all hold for each other if you have a partner. If you do not have a partner or a board, again, I love going to the tape so you have visual aids. Find a spot that you can put a piece of tape. This is my target, on the outside of a pillow and hang the pillow from the wall or something. No, I still don't want you trying to break with power, but I do want you to try speed and touch that spot without doing that, without the hand coming out reaching for it. Twist, stop, and then check where you hit.
Yep.
All right, be creative. There are ways you can do this. Ask mom and dad for help or ideas if you're not sure.
And if you guys think of any ways to make up drills using pillows or home supplies, office supplies that have helped you practice this board break, send them to us. Let us know. We'd like to see some of these. I want to see how creative you guys can get when it comes to practicing board breaks, actually. That'd be kind of cool to see.
Leadership students, you could submit this and get credit for it
That'd be a cool homework thing.
as a
we're thinking of your homework
leadership
online.
submission. So
Live homework thought.
there you go. All right.
Bet it won't be on.
Last technique we're going to cover today is the Palm Hill Strike. We have, well, the palm of your hand. You have to know what that is to start with. Pull your fingers back. The palm on your hand is like the heel on your foot, okay?
Bottom section.
Do not be afraid of hurting an arm, hurting a hand. This really should not hurt,
No.
okay?
Ezra's joining right now.
Hi, Ezra.
What up, man?
You should not have any more than you hitting yourself.
Us two are more popular than you.
You know, there's a little sting, but honest to goodness, that really does not hurt.
And it
Okay.
barely lasts a second, guys.
One of the things to keep people from breaking boards is, oh no, it's gonna hurt. All right,
Yeah, it hurts for half a second.
you've gotta put your mind somewhere else.
It'll honestly hurt more if you don't break it than if you break it, because if you don't break it, then you have to do it again, and you're already hitting irritated muscle and skin. All right, it's like if you have a sunburn and you hit your sunburn,
Ow.
that hurts. Or if you guys have ever played this game, me and my sister used to play with rock paper scissors, but whoever won would get the slap backhand of the other person. So the more times you hit that area, the more red, the more irritated it gets, and eventually you won't want to do it anymore.
So practicing first slowly, not breaking anything, but hand position, just like we practice foot position. All right, you want to do the steps to get up to where you don't have to think about it anymore. So if you have a wall, door, flat surface, you're not going to hit it. You're just going to put your hand on it, feel how to pull your fingers back. Now, if you knock your fingers on something, that hurts. Me doing that, I can feel that. Say, don't do that. All right? Your wrist has to flex. There's that word again, flex. Your wrist has to flex backwards. You have to be able to hit the palm of your hand without hitting your knuckles. Do not
Yay!
do not straighten your wrist. That has to be a natural motion, okay? You have to feel that position. So if you just reach out and touch the wall, make sure, oops, nope, my fingers touched that time. That wasn't right. That needs to be an automatic habit. That's something you can walk around the house doing. Don't hit the wall. Reach out, extend your hand, make sure your wrist is flexed, and you're not, test yourself, you're not touching your fingers. All right? Once you can touch the wall and go, oh, okay. So if you open your hand, you're slapping.
Yeah, you don't want to turn this into a high five.
All right? You don't
Not a
want it to
high
be a high five. When we curl our fingers, if you do that, you feel your hand tighten up. You feel just like when you did with your arm, squeeze your fist and not, you have to tighten up your muscles so the portion of your body that's striking the target is tight. You do that with all these board breaks. Front kick, the flex tightens, pulling your toes back tightens the ball of your foot, or it's a point, but pulling your toes back. The flex to get your heel extended tightens your heel. Pulling your arm in tight and squeezing tightens your arm so the portion of your body that's hitting the target you want tight. All right. Now, palm heel strike, in our forms, in our high rank forms, brown belt, we learn a reverse palm heel. You're not extending very far if you're utilizing that board break. You should still be able to break that board with it, but that's not normally where we would go. We would step with the front foot and it would be more like a lunge into it. You can step with the back foot, you would have to practice your distance. All right, so if you're gonna step, you're gonna back up a little bit. Aim right where you want this to go. Step, push all the way through
She almost hit me in the face.
the target.
Which I would've
So the
done.
board is just an obstacle. Your board holder is your target. And for those of you that have done board breaks at testing, if you go through your board in one attempt and touch your board holder, that's a karate dollar.
That's Miss Lois. She's got a bunch of them.
She's got a bunch of them. She is, I think that she's made that her goal. All right. Hey,
Hey,
Tanya.
what up?
Oh, Tanya, have G hold this for you. You try this. Okay. All right. So thank you guys for joining us today.
Before we sign off, actually, I want to go over a couple board break cautions. I don't know exactly what to call them. So if you guys have an actual rebreakable board at home, don't practice this all day. Don't make this like an hour-long practice. Only actually practice with the rebreakable boards for about 5-10 minutes.
Couple times.
All right. You don't want to constantly be hitting this board over and over again. And that's mainly because you're going to end up bruising the body, all right? The body's going to get bruised. It's not going to want to do it anymore. And as you bruise the body, you're not going to want to do the move properly anymore. So you're going to be learning.
Your memory's going to be ow.
Yeah. So, well, that plus if you're practicing the move incorrectly, then muscle memory is going to make you do it incorrectly. So really only practice this 5 times, and that's 5 hits total. I'm not talking breaks. I'm talking hits total. Just enough that you can actually maybe break the board once or twice.
So everything else, get the muscle memory in the technique, over the bed, over the couch, on the paper. Play with your distancing. You've got plenty of time to do this. Then go, okay, I'm ready to test my theory
With the board.
with the board.
All right, yeah. The board's kind of like a final test. You're not gonna use this. You're not gonna use your final test as your study guide. All right, because that's you might not have the same questions on the actual test. All right, you want to use your study guide. You want to study the material before you actually take the final exam. You don't just want to take the final exam right away. All right, it's just like school.
Okay, got it? Hope everybody's well. It's a beautiful day outside in Las Vegas.
Yeah,
I hope
practice
where
outside,
you
practice
are,
outside.
if you're not in Las Vegas, you've got some nice weather. You can go out and mess around a little bit. After doing at least one chore for mom and dad that they didn't expect and one that they want done. Not something that they go, why'd you do that?
Yeah, go clean the dishes, guys. I know all you kids are making dishes for mom and dad. Go clean some dishes.
Juliet, Cunha,
ATA.
ATA.